our most relationship podcast, Toxic. Today we're going to be talking about a post that Pastor Dr. Eric Mason made on his Instagram where he basically gives kind of his thoughts about a lot of the relationship type of, at least how he phrased it, kind of like a relationship podcast. But what I really think he was talking about was a lot of the male improvement type of podcasts that are on YouTube. So we're going to discuss this post, but before we do us a quick favor, hit that thumbs up, like this video, and subscribe to the channel. And we're going to get right into it. So here's the post. He said, help me please. As a pastor, I study culture and a lot of what's influencing my folks so I can disciple them well. One of the things I notice is that people listen to folks as experts who have no know-how or experience or solid worldview. These relationship podcasts are toxic. Why are people listening to folks give advice on finding a mate and talking about what the opposite sex wants and they're not married, don't have successful relationships, or not in a healthy relationship? Please help me understand. So I thought this was interesting.
Yeah.
I'm going to open it up to you, let you kind of get your thoughts off. But I could tell just from listening, just from reading it, that he probably is having a lot of people in his church that are watching a lot of like the male improvement type of stuff coming from the man side of things, because that's where you tend to see a lot of people who have been in several relationships, divorced and all of that stuff. And a lot of them are the source of a lot of the advice that's out there. So what are your thoughts on this?
This makes me think about when I was younger, high school or something. I don't remember. But it was this book that came out. Everybody was crazy about it. I had to read it too. And, after the fact, years after, he was like, how many times have they been married? He was like, how many times have they been divorced? It was just like, again, a self-help book about like relationships and things. And so that made me think like, oh, I thought the book was really good. Yeah, but look at who it was coming from in this advice. So here's what I will say overall. Very valid point. I think it's very important. And a lot of us do really just listen to stuff and if it just like sounds good on surface, especially if they put it in a nice, catchy, rhymey way with like a little phrase on it. When I tell you, everybody will be like, yes, come on. Like, that's number one. Younger generation, that's what we do. Regardless if they're not even talking about nothing. They were like, you know what? The thing is, pickles are green. And they were like, yes, okay, talk about, like,
yeah,
we know that already. Like, okay, so I can understand as a pastor, working with young people in colleges and things like that. Yeah, a lot of times they'll hear it and it'll just be like something they've never heard before, so profound. And like, wow, like, I didn't think. But no, you got to see, like, where are they getting these facts, these opinions from? Where do they have experience themselves? How many years of experience? Yep. You need to ask questions and see if it's really making sense, not just if it sounds good. So, yeah, I really think his point is valid. And I know when you're trying to lead people and actually want to see, some change and want to see, what you're saying, help them in their everyday lives, not just give a good message, that could be frustrating.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think everything you said is valid. I think when I read this, I thought about a lot of people, even like people who said a lot of good things, but when you really start to kind of unravel their lives, you got like the Kevin Samuels. I think you were hinting toward another individual. I think you were hinting towards Steve Harvey.
Yeah.
So a lot of people who, I think Steve Harvey, man, did, like 2 divorces. I think he's on his 3rd wife, I want to say. Maybe he found the one now. I don't know. Could be getting that wrong. But yeah, a lot of people in these relationship self-help type of spaces tend to not be the greatest examples. A lot of them are do as I say, not as I do. And they have a lot of the answers. And here's the truth. I think you also hit the nail on the head with a lot of those folks, and I'm not trying to come down on them. We are doing these type of videos because we are obviously trying to, be helpful in that space as well. And we understand that, not, the Bible even says, all have sinned and come short of the glory. Yes. And we don't want to prop ourselves above or try to compare, put ourselves in a situation where our expectation is perfection. Perfection is not the end goal. We want to be as close as we can to growing each and every day in our relationships with God and each other. But I think the thing is how absolutely a lot of those type of people they speak. Like they come off like, when you're coming off like an expert, you're basically saying that you are in many ways above reproach. So you have all the information and you're critiquing. Another great example more recently is Derek Jackson. And when you let a lot of your relationship and things like that play out publicly, what ends up happening is if you're not practicing what you preach, but you're really speaking down to men about how bad, speaking badly about men and things like that, or speaking in a way that caters to women, and you're speaking like in these different terms and whatever, people are going to be a lot harsher on you. It's just like the Bible where it talks about be careful about desiring to be teachers of many, knowing a greater condemnation will come to you. That's what we got to keep in mind. We're not trying to be relationship gurus. I mean, a lot of what we're trying to do with this channel is have the conversations. We're not trying to pull from people who don't know what they're talking about, who don't work with people or don't have experience or just have a YouTube page. There's a lot of people that just have YouTube pages. We probably would be in that category of someone with or people with YouTubes. So we don't want to just be as people who are just talking, but we want to have conversations that can help people. We want to share the scriptures. We do read the Bible. We do have a relationship with Jesus. We have a relationship with each other, and we can say things we can share things that have worked for us, what God has done for us in our lives, testify, and we can look at numbers, we can look at statistics and things like that, and we're going to share it with you all, but we're never going, our hope is to never assume the posture of experts. We're always learning, and I think what it comes down to, what Dr. Eric Mason was saying in this is, people are going to these people over their pastors. They're going to these people over people that are experts, actually.
Yeah. And they want the best for them. Also, you have to say, being their pastor, if they've had any type of conversations, they probably know their situation more specifically. So you need to listen to that advice probably more than just a general video you see on relationships. And sometimes people have been in bad relationships, maybe just a couple, and they don't realize that they are pulling the same types of people and then giving everybody advice. Well, you could pull a different type of person and get a whole different experience. But we're listening to it like, women are this. You need to do this.
Yeah. No. Because a lot of it doesn't even take into account that, like, some stuff is regional. So, like, a lot of the people that are giving relationship advice are in Florida. They're, like, in South Beach, Miami. And the women there are completely different. We're from Illinois. Completely different picture. Dating women from Illinois. Or even just from dating, and I'm from Chicago, dating in Chicago, the type of women in Chicago versus other cities in Illinois, completely different experience. But a lot of times we miss that because we're giving advice and we're giving expertise from a very limited scope, and we're applying it across the board. Now, there are trends that you may see in society, which we'll talk about, which we have talked about already on this channel, in culture. There are certain trends in culture, and we'll speak to those trends, but they don't define all women. They don't define all races of women. However, we can learn a lot from those trends, and we can also learn what we need to avoid in the culture and what we need to, within the culture, submit to God. So those are our thoughts on that. Love to know what you all think. Leave a comment if you feel like the stuff that's out there isn't coming from a place of expertise, or even living it out in seasons. Because I think that's really what we're working towards, and we're also trying to leverage with our platform, is bringing people who have been in seasons where they've had a long-standing relationship, long-standing marriage, at least, 10, 15 years married, ideally 20, 30 years married. We would like to see people who have had children, who have went through all of these different seasons and can sow into young parents, young couples, young marriages, and things like that. So that's what we're hoping to leverage on this channel and continue to bring into this conversation. But if you enjoyed this, leave a comment. Let us know your thoughts. But before you head out, make sure you hit the thumbs up on this video and subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell.